Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. My first video this morning was about the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital and the Greater Glasgow and Clyde Health Board, and the way that they had informed staff that may be arrested or questioned by police not to give police documents, not to give them notes, not to tell them anything they could avoid telling them, and certainly not to point the finger or implicate management. So much for being open, honest and transparent. Anyway, in that video I did indicate that I would try and get hold of Lesley Roberts, and we would discuss the matter, see what she thought of it, see what her take on this was. And I have now just completed a phone call with her, and in there she gives her reaction to it. It's much as you'd expect, as you can imagine, somebody who's worked there for quite some time. But also we talked about another particular case, what's going on, and there's a bit of a teaser for what is about to come. And so it's definitely worth the watch. So I hope you take the time and enjoy what Lesley has to say. As ever, it's my privilege to be the person who's bringing this to you. So I'll present Lesley in all her wonderfulness to you right now. Here goes. We'll go there. Right, so anyone who's watching the video this morning will know I mentioned I was going to hopefully get hold of Lesley today to see what her reaction would be about the covering up of all the information. And I've got Lesley on the phone now, and on a Zoom now. We are going to go and speak to her. But just before we go to Lesley, I just want to say I made a mistake earlier. I just want to clarify that. I was a bit confused as to names and that. And I mentioned that Lesley knew everybody involved, but that isn't necessarily the case. I think I said, for example, that she knew Millie Main's mother, Kimberly Darragh, and it's a case, no, we did talk about the Millie Main case, but it got confused, and I got confused and put it in. So she knows a lot of them, but not all of them. So I just wanted to clarify that out. So I don't want to be giving false information. So having done that, let me welcome our one and only good friend, Lesley. How are you, Lesley?
Hello, thank you. Yep, fine, thank you.
Right, now that video this morning I did, obviously it was about the hospital doing some pretty shady stuff. They're telling the staff not really to assist the police with their inquiries, to cover up information, to not bring information to the police station with them, don't hand over documents, don't hand over notes. And there was a line, and I did actually highlight the line in my video, saying where they were to basically not indicate that senior management were in any way to blame. They were basically saying, stop short from naming us. I mean, this doesn't surprise you, does it?
Not at all, no. Nothing surprises me anymore.
Yeah, I mean, what was your reaction on seeing that video, that news? Well, it's first thing this morning. It was one of the first news items up this morning.
Nothing surprises me. Having worked for this organisation for a number of years, having been a rep for countless amount of years, they will target, they will intimidate, they will bully, they will do anything possible so that they look as if they are this wonderful organisation and everyone else is wrong. Everyone else is wrong but GGC.
Yeah, they don't want to be accountable, do they?
Not at all, no, they do not.
And yet they're the ones that are causing a lot of the problems through effectively mismanagement, but then they expect other people to clean up their mess.
I just think that they are so corrupt, they have lost the way.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the whole situation has got much, much worse from about, I noticed it getting worse round about, probably really worse, about 2010 perhaps.
Wow, and going back as long as that.
Oh, absolutely.
So this isn't any COVID related problem. This is absolutely a chronic problem with that hospital.
It's chronic,
almost from a day one point of view, isn't it?
Not just from the hospital, from the entire board.
From the entire board, yes, yeah. Wow, I didn't realise it was as bad and it had been going on, because of course you've been at that place for quite some time, so you've undoubtedly experienced this firsthand, have you?
As a rep, I have dealt with cases that I never dreamt were possible, or the mm-hmm. way they treat their staff is. I've had a number of people actually considering taking their lives. It's been so bad.
The management have driven people to the point where they're considering ending their own life.
Yes.
That is toxic environment, isn't it?
It's as toxic as the water.
That is unbelievable. Well, I say it's unbelievable. The more I'm reading up on this hospital and this board and the things that are happening, actually, it's becoming, sadly, all too believable. There's a lot of examples of terrible things going on there, isn't there?
Yes. Dreadful. Absolutely dreadful. I mean, the thing is, you are, sorry, staff's lives are being wrecked almost.
Mm-hmm.
And, many staff members have got post-traumatic stress disorder?
Yeah,
Because
PTSD,
of
yeah.
the way they have been treated in that hospital,
Well,
in that board.
You normally get PTSD after things like military campaigns or spectacular disasters, but you shouldn't expect to have that from a normal day's work, should you?
I just think that it's incredible that you are dealing with a public service, and I continually revert back to no accountability, nobody actually holding these services to account. And when I begin to talk about what happened to my mum during COVID, you will see there was absolutely no accountability whatsoever. And that is the problem. If they've not got anybody to hold them to account, there is no reason for them to work in line with being accountable.
No,
and that's the problem.
Who would they be reporting to? I mean, who ultimately stands, if you like, in judgment over them to say, look at these metrics, you're succeeding or failing? Is there anyone? Is there anyone supposed to? And is there anyone actually?
I'm trying to be diplomatic here. I mean, you've got various public sector watchdogs. The Scottish Public Service Ombudsman is probably the larger. You've got, if it's a data breach, you've got the Scottish Commissioner's Office or the Information Commissioner's Office. If it's an audit problem, you've got Audit Scotland. But for some reason, all of them seem to hide behind process and don't actually do the job that they're supposed to. And as we were saying the other day, it's a lack of having teeth.
Yeah. Yeah, they I think they want to stick together. But I mean, they do have an awful history. For some reason, this particular health board seems to be the worst. I mean, there's what was the lady's name? Kirsten Cooper and her child.
I mean, that was a dreadful situation.
Because she was I know obviously, but for the viewers, she was just going to make a complaint about basically the cleanliness of the hospital, wasn't she?
Yes.
Perhaps if you could explain, because anyone watching this will just be astounded if they weren't aware of this story. Please go ahead and tell the story, because it is mind blowing if you were unaware of it.
Well, I became aware of it when I was contacted by someone, and it was to do with the union. And it was a man called Martin Bell, who was part of GGC. Now, he was a non-executive board member who's also due to give evidence of inquiry, and he believes that whatever went wrong in the Queen Elizabeth has basically taken the lives of many people. So he drew my attention to this case with Kirsten Cooper, and she was basically arrested and thrown in a police cell in 2017 after senior managers at the Queen Elizabeth wrongly said she tried to harm her daughter, Bailey. And she was basically thrown in a police cell, and it went through a long process where she was getting investigated for this. And it was just ridiculous. And
it was baseless charges, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. I mean, they've even failed to apologise, even when the allegations against her were found to be completely and utterly false, which is just it's unbelievable. But
Hmm.
she is quoting her case as a blatant cover up. I mean,
Yeah.
she had other children as well, and basically could put them at risk as well. Plus, Bailey was the ins and outs of it were not good. It put the whole family completely at risk.
Yeah.
So, I mean, she was saying she could hardly even describe the hell she went through from that moment being completely vindicated at a court hearing.
Mm.
Was accused of trying to murder her own sick daughter.
But they basically made that accusation because they did not want to investigate the problems or highlight at least the problems in that hospital, did they?
Well, I'll leave that up to your.
Well, let the viewer decide. Yeah, the
Yes.
viewer decide. But I think it's obvious. We don't need to say it. I think there's enough clues laid. There's enough implication.
Well,
But
what she basically said was that it came to light on January the 26th, 2017, after she made a formal complaint to the hospital about serious issues with hygiene, including Bailey's room being left unclean. And basically was told at the time she could not get a response for the hygiene complaint because of this child protection counterclaims. And then the nightmare really started for her. So I'll leave it to the judgment of those who are listening.
Yes, yeah, because you don't want to say anything that could be in any way taken as prejudicial with ongoing stuff.
Yeah.
But I think it's clear that they have a very spotty history, shall we say, of fairness. They have a very spotty history on complaint procedure. And of course, we've discussed before in the past that even from day one, and as the hospital was being built, there were issues around infection control, around molds, funguses, all sorts of things that they knew when they were building it. Aspergillus, for example, they actually had the report going in as they were building it saying it was a problem, and if they spent the money, we'd fix it. And nobody spent the money.
I actually had a wee smile to myself this morning. I know Louise Florence quite well these days, and she said on Twitter she she went on to Jane Grant's Twitter and she said to Jane Grant, "Why do you not just follow me on Twitter and it would save you £15,000 if you did?"
Yes.
And
that's the amount they of course that the hospital spent on private detectives, isn't it, to actually look at patients to see, presumably, and I think I said in the video, presumably they're looking for something in the lives of these difficult patients and the difficult patients' families that they could perhaps use to make problems go away. And of course, they're not going to find anything, are they? These are just normal people.
Well, I subject access requested, obviously, because I've been a bit of a thorn in their side. I've been a thorn in their side for years. I was even a thorn in their side when I worked
and
for
that's
them.
why we all love you. You've seen the comments.
I subject access requested them under the Data Protection Act 2018 to find out if I was on that list. And I'm not, but I have put an appeal in anyway.
Yeah.
Just in case my name's hiding under some stone somewhere.
Just in case. Yeah.
They were a bad employer who turned into an absolute monster during COVID. An absolute monster.
Yeah, I mean, evil begets evil, really, isn't it? When you've got people at the top who are bad during the good times, it makes you wonder how bad they can get when in the bad times. They can push it to unknown degrees. They can get away with anything and hide stuff, which they would undoubtedly would do. And we know that they were doing. So yeah, it is a bad thing. It is a bad thing.
When one of my colleagues wrote to Jane Grant during COVID about the masks not being lawful or safe, she basically wrote the letter back to him in a way which was trying to be diplomatic again. Basically, he took it as a threat against his professional registration because as professionals, we have to be registered with a registration body.
Yeah.
And what he took it as quite a. And when I wrote to her about the mask, she told me to go and seek union advice when I was.
You were the union advice.
But I mean, we're laughing and we're smiling, and but at the end of the day, what we forget here is this is people's lives,
Oh
and
yeah,
you are so vulnerable when you are a patient, and even your relatives are vulnerable
yeah.
because they don't know the truth of what's going on. And I know a lot of people now who would rather die than actually go to a hospital.
Mm.
And that's
I'm actually one. I actually launched a legal action against Kettering Hospital, which I've put the video up on that. I was in such a bad way coming out of that, and thankfully, in touch wood, still here and a lot better. But it was appallingly bad treatment. But of course, I tried making official complaints, and you're just getting nothing back. You know, you're, oh well, you know, some sort of a letter, but it was a no letter. You know, there was nothing there. Nobody was admitting anything. And then when I went to, basically, I tried to take it to legal, and because there was no actual harm, physical harm caused by the hospital, it was very difficult to get that to court. They admitted, yes, it may well have emotional and mental damage, but it's virtually unprovable in court. So I couldn't really sue them. I'd
it's
rather
the
they
same.
actually did physical harm to me, then I could at least sue them, you know.
It's the same language. I used to get into meetings and I would bring up different things in meetings, and it was, we're not here to discuss that. That is not part of the agenda to
Yeah.
which, if this is not within our remit, we don't want to do this. We are crossing it, they use jargon constantly.
Oh, constantly, yeah.
We're not here to discuss that. We will touch base about that later on, touch base. I'm okay. It's the same language, it's the same jargon, it's the same pathetic.
They don't want to talk about it because it's a difficult subject.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tragically, yes.
Yeah, and that's it. And that's what they've done for years now. They've just refused to talk and hope that it goes away. And for a lot of people, it will go away because they just give up, don't they? They just can't be bothered anymore. They go, for God's sake, just put up with it. But thankfully, some people don't, eh? Some people don't put up with it. No.
I just would put up with their nonsense anymore because I've reported them to Scottish Public Service Ombudsman for the death of my mother. And I believe that the Ombudsman have had to refer that to a specialist because the case is very bad. What happened to my mum? And I put that down to them targeting my mum because of who I was, sadly. I don't think the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's astounding if that's true. The target. I don't want to say what the thoughts going through my head because I don't want to upset you, but I think you can understand what I'm probably thinking. And that is absolutely monstrous, really, isn't it?
Yes. At the time, I was highlighting something that is going to be in the public domain very soon, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So I won't go into the details about that. That case is another one which will turn your hair blue. And I was obviously highlighting the PPE, and they were caught listening into calls, trying to target my clinical role. So if you're likely to come after your own rep.
Oh, yeah. They'll have no compunction about going after anybody. Yeah.
But they're getting away with it. And Humphrey Yousaf, knowing all of this, knowing about Christine Cooper, knowing about all the different people, Layla Green, Emily McDowell, Andrew Lawrence, he knew all of this and took this board off of special measures and put them onto a level 2 with no more oversight board. That is absolutely horrific.
I mean, that alone needs to be justified, and I don't think he can justify it. And that's why I think he wants it to go away, much as anything else. Because you had, I mean, going back through the COVID time, you had Jean Freeman. Don't need to say anything about her. We know that that's all going to be done. But then he's taken over, and he was there for 2 years afterwards, dealing with stuff. He knew. There's no way he didn't know. If he didn't know, then what the hell was he doing there? He wasn't doing his job. So he undoubtedly knew all this and did nothing. Yeah.
Nothing surprises me. There is no accountability anymore. And when this other case that will be coming up shortly, you will see just how bad this health board are. And the case that I believe will be coming up shortly has been ongoing for a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
And it is horrifying to know
What's the time frame on this new one? What's the time frame there? We're talking days, weeks,
months,
few weeks, few weeks to maybe a few months. Yeah, a month. Okay, that's fine. So we're not talking the far distant future. It's something that's going to be ongoing that we're going to move towards relatively quickly.
The media have touched on it,
mm-hmm.
and the media have picked up specific pieces of it, but there is a very large piece to come.
Excellent. We shall look forward to it, Lesley. Now, I know you're going to be busy. You said about before this, you've got to get off and do something. So what I'll do is I'll round this off to a piece now. So I'll just thank you very much for taking the time out today, for speaking to us, for sort of giving your view on what had happened, and also for explaining what happened with Kirstine Cooper in that case. And thanks for the little teaser at the end there for the new one. So I'd like to thank you for that, and say until we speak again, thank you very much.
Have a good day.
And you take care now. Bye-bye.
Right, bye-bye.
Well, there we go. As I say, thank you very much to Lesley for coming on. Always a pleasure for her to come on. I'm always privileged to hear from her and to help spread the truth. And on that end, do please subscribe and definitely like the video. When you like a video, YouTube algorithm pushes it out slightly further, and the more likes it get, the more it spreads. And with these videos, we need the truth to be yelled from the rooftops far and wide. So like the video, and please share it on social media. Get as many people as you can to watch it, and that would be absolutely fine. The more people know, the harder it is for them to cover it up. So yeah, very interesting there. Lesley giving her view on what the events, obviously, and then that particular case where the mother was accused of attempted murder because the hospital didn't really want to answer the problems about hygiene. That was horrific, and it's not even it's just one of the examples. There are other examples. She did also allude right at the end there as well to another case that's going to be coming up in the next few weeks to a month. I spoke to Lesley off air about it, and I'm not at liberty to say, so I'm not going to say anything about it particularly, but I will say that the person involved in that is, I think, willing to come on and speak to me. So if that's the case, then this will be another person coming on and doing another interview all about what's going on, and this person is key to everything, so you don't want to miss that one as well. Anyway, we'll round that off there. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, stay safe, stay well, and let's keep pushing for the truth to come out. Thank you, and goodbye.